Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts, and this is a special episode. We got two dinosaurs today, so let's actually get right to it, shall we? First dinosaur I'll talk about is Leaellynasaura. And Leaellynasaura is actually, in Greek and Latin, means Leaellyans lizard, which is basically this dinosaur is actually named after a person. It's actually named after the daughter of Australian paleontologist Tom Rich and also Patricia Vickers Rich. So that's kind of pretty cool to actually name a dinosaur after your own child. So that's kind of interesting. Of course, this dinosaur is actually found in Australia, southern Australia. Lived in the Middle Cretaceous around 105 million years ago, approximately 10 feet long, and probably would have maybe weighed around 100 pounds. And it's a herbivore, and it's actually closely related to the hypsilodontids. So it's actually like one of those small dinosaurs that actually have that are just their main defense is basically speed, and so that's basically what they are. And so, and some key features in Leaellynasaura is basically that it has large eye sockets supporting big eyes. Probably had a very big brain in terms of its body size. And also, we would actually have this dinosaur have the ability to possibly see at night. So it probably might have been a nocturnal type of dinosaur. But even though we still don't know that, we just of course make this on speculation. But even though it's possible that animals with large eyes, they actually have night vision, basically nocturnal animals. But still, but even though I think since that this dinosaur living in southern Australia and around the Middle Cretaceous, Australia was still connected to Antarctica. So it's actually a period in time where that part of Australia is actually kind of cold. So we would actually be seeing a long, cold winter, basically nighttime almost every day. So it would actually be 24 hours darkness in winter. So it would actually be the sun wouldn't actually rise until until the spring, and basically the sun would actually just be peaking during the spring, and then when the summer hits, then you have 24 hours sunshine. So that's probably what it might have been like. But still, I would actually say that that's still up in the air. But even though I think it actually could be possible, and since that Leaellynasaura probably actually was active during those kinds of times, during the cold nights in the winter, it probably actually had to keep building up energy and also building up some heat. So it actually had to be really active in that cold environment. So that would actually be showing that it's a very cold climate that it actually lives. But even though I probably would say that that Leaellynasaura is basically probably, since it probably might be warm-blooded, it actually probably does also have feathers to actually keep it warm as well. So, but also some of those feathers would probably have been brightly colored, probably actually also for display. Probably males do display fights, just by like saying, "Look at me, I'm brighter than you, I'm better than you, I'm healthier than you," that kind of thing. And also that the speed of Leaellynasaura probably actually deterred it away from predators. And the predators are around in the Middle Cretaceous and during southern Australia and parts of Antarctica is these smaller types of allosaurs. So those kinds of allosaurs were actually very unique. They were smaller, but even though they probably actually lived around in the southern hemisphere a little bit more, but even though Antarctica and Australia probably actually had a little bit more of an allosaur population, so that's probably what they encountered a lot more often. But even though they probably lived deep in the forests and probably actually didn't even have to worry about predation that much, so that would probably be the only only thing that it probably actually would have an advantage for. But of course, extinction of Leaellynasaura, it's probably due to the fact that the climate totally changed, in that Antarctica was getting colder, but even though it was still tropical at that point, Antarctica didn't get really cold until the Cenozoic, so during the age of mammals. So it didn't actually really get didn't get to the point where it was like below zero temperatures, probably during the Cenozoic. So that's basically how it actually kind of happened. And the other dinosaur that I want to talk about is a dinosaur called Tyrannotitan. And Tyrannotitan is a carnivorous dinosaur. I just gotta get the name here. Just trying to find it. Now, Tyrannotitan is probably 40 feet long, but the weight is still unknown. It's because it's a very rare find. And also the name means giant tyrant. Lived in South America. And so it actually... And you would think with the name Tyranno, you would think it's a tyrannosaur. That's not entirely the case. See, Tyrannotitan is a very rare carnivorous dinosaur that lived in South America around 120 to 110 million years ago. So it was actually kind of more closely related to Allosaurus than any other kind of dinosaur. But this is a starting point of where you might actually start to see Giganotosaurus and Mapusaurus. So those were probably the dinosaurs that actually kind of came from this kind of dinosaur. So this is probably the ancestral dinosaur that actually became Giganotosaurus, or otherwise Mapusaurus. But there's still debate whether or not Mapusaurus and Giganotosaurus are actually the same animal. But even though it's still up in the air, but I still think but even though right now Giganotosaurus and Mapusaurus are still valid species. And so this dinosaur, since being a carnivorous dinosaur, it actually probably would have hunted sauropods a lot more, and so the Titanosaurs were kind of almost in the mix of basically being in South America. So that would actually be the types of plant-eating dinosaurs that would actually be going after, and also probably the iguanodontids that actually probably came down there. But even though iguanodontids are a lot more common in the northern hemisphere than any other kind of type of hemisphere, basically in the southern hemisphere. Because the southern hemisphere, you actually have more sauropods and also some iguanodontids, but even though they're probably not as common. So, and since that South America was isolated during that time, so probably the iguanodontids didn't really have that much of a chance to actually get down there as quick as they possibly could when Africa and South America were still connected at that point. And during this time, South America and Africa were still connected, so there were probably some migrations going right through Africa and South America. And I think that Tyrannotitan, since it does have small arms, even though it's not a tyrannosaur, See, tyrannosaurs didn't start getting big until around 90 million years ago. So that's when tyrannosaurs actually started to get really big. And you see, tyrannosaurs and Tyrannotitan are very different. And reasons why: the skull is different, the teeth are different, and also the bodies, and also body design is actually very different. So Tyrannotitan would probably actually be probably a bit more agile than some tyrannosaurs, probably like Tyrannosaurus Rex. But even though it probably didn't have a very big brain like Tyrannosaurus Rex in terms of dinosaur brain size. And so Tyrannotitan would actually be basically just be taking flesh from, just basically biting the flesh off of the prey instead of actually like biting down really hard and actually crushing bones. That's probably not what they did. They probably just bit the prey, let it bleed to death, and then basically just go ahead and feed it until that prey dies of blood loss. So that's basically how that probably might have happened. And so Tyrannotitan being kind of actually in between of an Allosaur and Carcharodontosaur, so it probably actually was in between of an Allosaur and Carcharodontosaur. And also you gotta think, is it related to Acrocanthosaurus, which I probably think it could be. I think it could be, but even though the skulls are kind of different, and also the bodies. And also body plan is very different. Acrocanthosaurus was a little bit more stocky, a little bit well muscled than probably Tyrannotitan, and also Tyrannotitan having not that much of a good fossil record for that type of dinosaurs. I think there's only been 1 or 2 specimens that have been found, and I think all they found is bits and pieces of the skull and some vertebrae, but that's probably about it. So they probably didn't really actually have. They probably don't have a really good size estimate of how big Tyrannotitan probably is. So we really still don't know how big Tyrannotitan was, and also, is it really a valid specimen? Because sometimes paleontologists make the mistake of basically looking at a certain fossil that they actually found, and then basically they try to look at other carnivorous dinosaurs and they think, oh, it's a new species, because this bone is so different from the others. But even though you can't actually just rely on one bone to actually say that it's different from the others, because that's not really giving a valid specimen. That's just showing you didn't really do all the work necessary to actually say, is it really a valid species, or is it just a name that you actually just gave to a dinosaur that already exists? So that's actually that's still up for debate right now, but I think probably right now Tyrannotitan valid species, but even though still not really, I still don't think it's totally valid totally. So I would actually say it's like a 50-50 in between valid and invalid. So I would actually say that it's still up in the air. Still up in the air in terms of Tyrannotitan, in terms of its size and also its body plan. And also, of course, extinction probably when Giganotosaurus and Mosasaurus came in, it was probably outcompeted. And that's probably how it happened. And also, Argentinosaurus actually shows up around 110 million years ago. So that's pretty much how that kind of actually would happen. And since once the Titanosaurs gotten bigger, then Tyrannotitan couldn't actually try to hunt down the gigantic herbivores that actually came in, and also probably didn't have the ability to actually take down that large of prey. And also, once the Giganotosaurus and Mosasaurus kind of came in, it was basically that they just outcompeted it, just totally outcompeted it. But basically, it's because those two dinosaurs got bigger than Tyrannotitan, and so that actually comes into play there. And so herbivores changed, and also you get new carnivores that come in, and basically that's how when these new carnivores come in, they basically try to outcompete its predecessor. So basically that's how it actually happens. Alright, that's it for now. Now, the Answering Questions episode, the next Answering Questions episode of Prehistoric Facts will actually be 2 weeks from today. So it will actually be in December. So it will actually be December 6th. So December 6th will actually be a new episode of Prehistoric Facts. So since that Thanksgiving is coming up, and so that actually will give everybody a little bit more time to spend time with their families and all that. So, but even though you can still send me questions anytime throughout that 2-week span. So you can actually email. So if you got a question about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochris71@gmail.com, or otherwise you can go on the Facebook page, like the page, and also you can actually write your questions on the Facebook page, on any Facebook post, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris, that's the page name, like it, and you can actually Put down the questions in the comment section on any Facebook post. You can also follow me on Twitter at basically @ CSGRALL. That's my Twitter account, and I post pretty cool stuff on there. And also take care of the people around you, and also for your younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for a good education. It's very important to have a good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. Alright, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.